There's a growing anti-gun movement sweeping the U.S. in the wake of the recent mass shootings, putting your Second Amendment rights on the line. But are your guns going to be safe in Idaho? Let's find out. Before we get started, my name is Isaac Crace. I'm a third-generation realtor here in the Boise, Idaho area. So if you or anyone you know is thinking about making that move to the Boise, Idaho area, hit me up. Let's have a chat and see if Boise's going to be the right fit for you. My phone is ringing off the hook every single day with people just like you looking to make that move to the Boise, Idaho area, and I absolutely love helping out in any way I can. So help me, help you. Give me a call, send me a text, shoot me an email. Any of those, let's get connected. Thank you for tuning in to this week's video because I've got a great one for you. I'm going to be going over everything about living in Idaho with guns, from different laws to what it's like living in Idaho with guns, my experiences, and then questions I commonly get asked from people looking to move to Idaho from out of state because the laws are different than a lot of places. So without further ado, let's get started with the biggest laws that are going to be different in the state of Idaho. The first law I'm going to cover is the concealed carry laws. So for years in Idaho has been an open carry state, meaning without a permit, you could carry a deadly weapon on you at all times as long as it is in plain view, with the exception of a few places like K-12 schools, courthouses, and jails. If you wanted to conceal carry a weapon, you needed a permit and you had to be over 21 years old. So moving forward, Idaho changed the laws around concealed carrying. Idaho no longer requires a concealed carry permit or for you to take the class in order to conceal carry. If you're over 18, you can carry a concealed weapon. Now, there was some nuances in there. Anyone over 18 but under 21 was not allowed to conceal carry within city limits. So the most recent change to that law was to allow people in that over 18 to under 21 to conceal carry inside city limits, because before you could only, if you fell into that age group, you could only carry outside of city limits. But there was just too much weirdness about that, so Idaho just said, hey, we're going to make it simple, came in, put a blanket law down. So now anyone over 18 not disqualified from owning a weapon can conceal carry in the state of Idaho. I need to make a note, that is for residents only. So if you're coming to visit the state, that doesn't mean that you can just conceal carry a weapon. Although if you have a concealed carry permit, by all means, conceal carry. Now, even though a concealed weapons permit is not required anymore in the state of Idaho, I still know multiple people who have gone and taken the course, and it's a great idea. You learn a ton of stuff about concealed carrying. It is an all-around great idea. I still advise you to take that course. The next law I'm going to cover is self-defense laws. So unlike a couple other states in the U.S., there are a few that have stand your ground laws. Idaho is not one of them. What Idaho has is called the Castle Doctrine, and basically the difference between those with stand your ground, it's pretty self-explanatory. You do not have to retreat before you can use deadly force to neutralize a threat. In Idaho, with the Castle Doctrine, you have to retreat as far back as you possibly can to where you have no more ability to retreat before you can use deadly force. The third biggest one I'm going to cover is registration. In Idaho, it is not required that you register any of your firearms. With that being said, there are about 50,000 firearms registered in the state of Idaho, so that'll give you a number on how many firearms are in the state. If it's not required to register your firearms, and there's 50,000 registered, there's a lot more firearms in the state. So those are going to be the three main laws that I'm going to cover in this video, and now I'm going to move on to what makes Idaho different from other states. The first difference is going to be sanctuary cities. So in the wake of all this craziness that's going on in the media and just around the country,
we'll ban assault weapons.
Chocolate chip.
Many of the cities throughout the Boise, Idaho area have declared themselves a Second Amendment sanctuary city. So what that means, basically a Second Amendment sanctuary city kind of plays off the term sanctuary cities as far as immigration goes. So what that means is that if there is a federal law around the Second Amendment, if the city deems that to be unconstitutional, local municipalities are not going to enforce that. Now, keep in mind that doesn't keep the ATF from showing up to your front door because they are not a local municipality, but it is nice because you don't have local municipalities enforcing a law that they don't see as constitutional. The next one, red flag laws, and thank goodness we don't have red flag laws because I'm not going to go into it. If you are into the Second Amendment stuff, which you are because you're watching this video, you know how much of a disaster that can turn out to be. So Idaho does not have red flag laws. The next one, who can buy a gun in the state of Idaho? As a general statement, anyone over 18 who is not disqualified from owning a firearm can purchase one. You have to go to the gun store, fill out your federal background check. It'll come back. There's no waiting period to purchase any guns. So anyone over 18, like I said, not disqualified from owning a firearm, can go and purchase a firearm. Also, what makes Idaho a bit different, there are exceptions for people under 18 to purchase firearms. Now, you're not going to allow a 3-year-old to go purchase a firearm, but just under 18, there's some different nuances in that with you. If you have parental consent, that they can purchase a firearm, but I'm not going to get into that really. I will have the link for all that information down in the description below. So if you want to see more on that, go check that out. Special permits required for owning guns. This is all kind of just odd language for me because I have it so good in Idaho. I guess I'm not from a very restrictive state. So we do not have any special permits required to own a firearm or purchase a firearm, anything along those lines. California compliant or Colorado compliant. I'm sure if you have gone to a gun store to purchase a gun, you've heard those terms before, which in lame terms just means they made the gun boring. In Idaho, we don't have any restrictions aside from federal restrictions, so you don't have to purchase California compliant guns. In fact, if there are any California compliant guns in the state, like when you go to the gun store, they're going to be sitting there forever because nobody wants a freaking California compliant firearm. So we don't have any special requirements for compliance in the state. Safe storage. Now, this is another one that's kind of interesting because first of all, we don't require you to safely store your firearms. I know some states do require you to have it locked and your gun is in a safe and your ammo is in a different safe and a bunch of crazy stuff, excessive stuff. But I don't think it should be a law. Ultimately, you should be storing your firearms safely away from people who shouldn't be able to get a hold of them, like children. But it's not a law in the state. Can kids have guns in Idaho or be in possession of firearms? As a general statement, anyone under 18, no, you're not supposed to be in possession of a firearm unless you fall under 3 categories. You're actively participating in hunting, you're on private property, or you're in a course, like an education course, like a hunter's ed course. Idaho, we have a lot of public land and we have a lot of history with outdoorsmen and hunting. I've gone hunting multiple times under 18 years old, and it's kind of hard to do if you're not supposed to have a firearm. So that is the reasoning behind that. One thing that is nice about living in Idaho is that we can ship ammunition right to our front door. I purchase ammunition online all the time, and it's kind of nice because you don't have to go down to stores like your local Cabela's or your Sportsman's Warehouse or your local sporting goods store to check if they've got ammo, because we're in crazy times right now. You know, you go to the stores, the shelves are empty. So you can just scroll online really easily. If you find something that you want, you can just order it right to your front door, which is super simple and really convenient. Lastly, odd ones is going to be lead ammo. So I know in a couple other states they are completely banning lead ammunition, like California. I'm pretty sure you can't use any toxic ammo. In Idaho, you can still use lead, and that is nice because if you are a very avid target shooter, you know that shooting non-toxic shot, let's just take shotgun shells for an example. Shooting non-toxic shot, the price can add up pretty quick, or even handguns. So you go out and spend, I don't even know how much money. Target shooting is already expensive, especially if you're blowing through hundreds of rounds practicing. Add non-toxic onto that, it just makes it completely unaffordable. But that's the nice thing about Idaho, you can still shoot lead ammunition here. So the biggest question that I get from having clients in town and them asking me questions regarding firearms and firearms laws, they say, hey Isaac, I know that you are allowed to carry a firearm here, but kind of what's the culture like around that? You know, like if you're open carrying, do you get funny looks, or do people, I don't even know, just terrorize you because of that? In short answer, I haven't had any issue with that. If you're carrying, the only people that are going to stop and talk to you aren't going to be harassing you for the main part. They're probably going to be asking you what piece you got on your hip. But other than that, I mean, when you're out hunting, of course, sometimes you have people that don't like you hunting. So I've gotten odd looks when I'm out hunting. But aside from that, there's no toxic culture around that, which is being brewed and emphasized by the mainstream media, absolutely not helping the situation at all.
We'll ban assault weapons. And for those brave right-wing Americans.
So how do the laws in Idaho differ from the laws in your state? This is a tough one for me to do a video on this because I don't know the laws for every other state. I know the laws for Idaho, and the more I learn about other states, I am very fortunate to know. So I need your guys' help. Drop questions down in the comments below about anything that you aren't sure about Idaho so I can answer them, and people who may not know the answer can see that answer down below. If you like this video, this is actually a continuation of a video I already did. I made one last year in October, so you can check that video out right here. It's about moving to Boise, Idaho with guns. I went a little bit more in depth. There's more visuals on there, so if you're a visual learner, definitely go check that out. It is a great video. Until next week, I'm Isaac Crace with Top Idaho Real Estate, your third generation Idaho Realtor.